I used to joke that my parents replaced me with a limited edition, Strata, varsity-soccer version of a daughter. Her name is Andrea. She's 2 years younger than me, but somehow she's always been ahead academically, socially, emotionally. At least that's what it feels like, walking through the halls of Roosevelt High. Denise, Andrea waves from her locker, ponytail bouncing, Letterman jacket practically glowing under the fluorescent lights. Are you coming to the game Friday? Isn't that what you have 300 other friends for? I slam my locker shut a little too hard. She winces. You could sit with us. Pass eyebrows Isley from School of Spirit. She rolls her eyes but smiles anyway. She always smiles. It's like she was born knowing she belonged here. I wasn't. I transferred to Roosevelt sophomore year after everything. After the reunion, after my parents showed up at the small-town house I'd lived in with my adoptive aunt, and explained that there'd been a mistake. Paperwork lost. Systems messed up. Years gone. After I found out I wasn't abandoned on purpose. It's weird. Learning your life was an accident of bureaucracy. Now I live in a beige suburban house with a family that shares my last name and my eyes, but not my memories. At lunch, I sit with Kayla and Marcus under the bleachers, our unofficial headquarters for people who don't scream at pep rallies. You look like you want to fight someone, Kayla says, handing me half her sandwich. I always look like that. True, Marcus nods. But today it's extra. I shrugged, just tired of feeling like the bonus track on an album nobody asked for. Kayla frowns. You're not extra, Denise. I kick at a pebble. At dinner last night, Mom hung another one of Andrea's medals on the wall. There's literally a section labeled Andrea SH Achievements. And? Marcus asks gently. And there's no Denise's anything. Kayla nudges me. You could start one. Of what? Survived emotional whiplash. They both laugh, but softly. I don't tell them the worst part. It's not the medals, it's how careful my parents are with me. Like I'm glass. Like if they push too hard, I'll disappear again. I don't want careful. I want normal. That afternoon in creative writing, I'm late. Because I stopped to help Kayla rehearse her chemistry presentation. I slip into the classroom just as someone stands to read. He's tall, messy dark. Hair falling into his eyes. Sleeves rolled up like he didn't mean to look put together but somehow does. He clears his throat and starts reading a poem about second chances. I freeze halfway to my seat, and if I could rewrite the first chapter, I wouldn't erase you. I'd just make sure we never lost each other in the margins. The room is silent when he finishes. Wow, Mrs. Alvarez breathes. Thank you, Mason. Mason. He sits down, and that's when I trip over my own backpack strap. Hard. My notebook flies out of my hands and lands open at his feet. He picks it up before I can dive for it. I swear it's not a dramatic entrance, I mutter, face burning. He glances at the page and grins. You wrote a short story about a girl who robs a convenience store with a water gun. It's symbolic of what? Thirst. He laughs actually. Laughs and hands it back. I'm Mason. Denise. Professional disaster. Nice to meet you. Professional disaster. I hurry to my seat, but I can feel his eyes on me for the rest of class. After the bell rings, I'm stuffing my notebook into my bag when he appears beside me. So, he says casually, do you always commit fictional crimes? Or was today special? Depends who's asking. A concerned citizen. Relax. I only rob imaginary places. Good. I left my wallet at home. I smirk despite myself. Tragic. He hesitates, then nods toward my notebook. Your writing's good. My stomach flips. You read one sentence. Still counts. Compliments make me itch. I don't know where to put them. Thanks, I say, too quickly. We start walking out together. You're new here, right? He asks. Last year. And you're Andrea's sister. There it is again. Unfortunately, I reply. He tilts his head. She talks about you. Let me guess. Brooding. Mysterious. Potential villain. Origin story. Actually, she said, you're brave. I stopped walking. Brave? She said you had to start over. That's not easy. My throat tightens unexpectedly. I shrugged it off. It's just geography. Doesn't look like just geography. For a second I consider making a joke. Instead, I say quietly, it's weird, living in a house that feels like it belongs to someone else. He doesn't try to fix it. He just nods. Yeah, he says, that sounds hard. Why is he being like this? So, he adds lightly, saving me from my own vulnerability. There's a football game Friday. I'm playing in the band. You should come. I don't do football games. Because they're loud and full of people who peaked in middle school. Ouch. I stand by it. He grins. Come for the band. Then, I'll be the one trying not to mess up the trumpet solo. You play trumpet, among other things. Is that supposed to be impressive? Devastatingly, you roll my eyes. But my heart does something dumb and hopeful. I'll think about it, I say. That night at dinner, Andrea's talking about college scouts and homecoming themes, while Mom nods proudly. Denise. Dad says gently, how was school? Educational. Andrea kicks me under the table. She met Mason in creative writing. I glare at her. You stalk me now. She grins. He's sweet. Define sweet. Doesn't treat people like they're temporary. The words land heavier than she means them to. I excuse myself before anyone can see my face. Later, my phone buzzes. Unknown number. So is that a yes to Friday, or are you dramatically ghosting me? I smile. Denise. I don't ghost. I haunt. Mason. Even better. Denise. Fine. I'll come. But if I hate it, I'm blaming you. Mason, I'll accept that risk. Friday night, the stadium lights turn everything silver. I sit halfway up the bleachers, hoodie pulled tight, trying not to look like I care. The band starts playing. I spot him near the front. Trumpet raised her glances up, sees me, and smiles. Mid-song, something in my chest shifts. After the halftime show, he jogs up the steps toward me, slightly out of breath. You came. Don't make it a big deal. It's absolutely a big deal. I laugh, and it feels unfamiliar and easy. You want to walk? He asks. We circle the edge of the field, the noise fading behind us. You ever think about leaving? He asks suddenly. Roosevelt? Everything. All the time. And I'm scared if I leave again, it'll prove I never really belonged. He stops walking. Denise, he says softly. Belonging isn't about who got here first. Before I can respond, my phone starts vibrating non-stop in my pocket. Andrea. I frown and answer. Denise, she whispers, voice shaking. You need to come home. Now, my stomach drops. What happened? I found something in Mom and Dad's office. It's about you. Cold spreads through my chest. What about me? There's a long pause. It's adoption paperwork, she says, but it doesn't match the story they told us. The stadium lights suddenly feel too bright. Mason watches my expression change. What kind of paperwork? I ask. Barely breathing, Andrea's voice cracks. Denise, I don't think they told you the truth about why you were given up. My life felt like one of those perfect, shiny pictures you see in a frame. I was Maya, 16 years old, with 2 amazing parents and a little brother, Leo, who was my favorite person to annoy. We lived in a cozy house with a big backyard, the kind where memories are supposed to grow on trees. I had great friends, I was doing okay in school, and I truly believed I had the best family in the world. They were my everything. My dad taught me how to ride a bike. My mom taught me how to bake her secret recipe cookies. And Leo. Well, Leo taught me patience. I never once questioned that I belonged. Why would I? This was my home. This was my life. But sometimes, the most perfect-looking pictures of cracks you can't see until you get up close. And one rainy Tuesday afternoon, I got way too close. I was rummaging through the attic, searching for old photo albums for a school project. The air was thick with the smell of dust and forgotten things. Tucked away in a dark corner, behind a stack of my dad's old college textbooks, was a small, locked metal box. I'd never seen it before. Curiosity, that little troublemaker, got the best of me. The lock was flimsy, and a hairpin from my pocket did the trick. My heart was pounding, a mix of guilt and excitement. Inside, nestled amongst old letters, was a set of folded documents. The letterhead was from a family services agency. My hand started to shake as I read the words, temporary custodial agreement. And then, another set of names, my biological parents, and then my name. It wasn't just about being adopted, something I'd always known and been proud of. It was the word temporary. It was a 5-year agreement, a placeholder, a plan that was never supposed to be permanent. I was a temporary fix. The perfect picture of my life shattered into a million pieces right there on the dusty floor of the attic. The rain beating against the roof sounded like a drum counting down to a disaster. That night at the dinner table, the silence was deafening. The usual chatter about our day was gone, replaced by the clinking of forks against plates. I couldn't look at them. These people who I thought were my parents, my real parents in every way that mattered, suddenly felt like strangers. I finally broke the quiet. My voice was small, shaky. I found the box in the attic. I saw the color drain from my mom's face. My dad put his fork down, his jaw tight. I held up the papers, my hand trembling. Temporary? I was supposed to be temporary. The questions tumbled out of me, laced with anger and a deep, gut-wrenching hurt. Why didn't you tell me? Was I just a placeholder until something better came along? Did you ever even really want me? Leo just looked back and forth between us, his eyes wide with confusion. My mom started to cry, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. My dad tried to explain, his voice heavy with regret. He said they fell in love with me the moment they held me. They said my biological parents were young, that they needed time, and the plan was for them to eventually take me back. But years went by, contact faded, and my parents couldn't bear the thought of letting me go. They legally adopted me when I was 6, but they were so scared of hurting me, so afraid I'd feel unwanted, that they hid the beginning of the story. They thought they were protecting me, but in that moment, all I felt was a profound sense of betrayal. The foundation of my entire world had crumbled. The days that followed were a blur of cold shoulders and whispered arguments behind closed doors. Home didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a stage where we were all playing a part. I felt like a ghost in my own life. I started pulling away from my friends, from my schoolwork, from everything. Who was I? Was I Maya, the daughter of the people who raised me? Or was I just the girl they kept, the girl whose original story was erased? I spent hours online, searching for any trace of my biological parents. The names on the document were my only clue. It felt like searching for a needle in a haystack, but it was the only thing that felt real, the only thing I could control. I needed answers, not the rehearsed, tear-filled answers my parents were giving me, but real, hard truths. I needed to know where I came from to understand where I was going. My parents watched me, their faces etched with worry and sadness, but they didn't know how to fix it. They didn't know how to rebuild the trust they had broken, and honestly, I wasn't sure I wanted them to. The breakthrough came from the most unexpected place. My little brother, Leo. He came into my room one evening, holding his favorite stuffed bear. He didn't say anything at first, just sat on the edge of my bed. Then he looked at me with his big, honest eyes and said, "Does this mean you're going to leave?" His simple, terrified question cut through all my anger. I saw myself in his fear, the fear of being left behind, of not belonging. I pulled him into a hug, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something other than rage and confusion. I felt like a big sister. I told him, "No, Leo. I'm not going anywhere." In that moment, I realized my anger was a shield. I was terrified. Terrified that the love I had built my life on was conditional. That night, I went downstairs. My parents were sitting in the living room, the TV off, just waiting. I sat down and said, "Tell me everything. No more secrets." And they did. They talked for hours. They told me about the scared, loving couple who had held me as a baby. They showed me pictures I'd never seen. They talked about their own fear and desperation, the overwhelming love that made them break the rules. They admitted they were wrong to hide it, that their fear had clouded their judgment. It wasn't an excuse, but it was the truth. It was messy and complicated and human. Hearing the whole story, the real story, didn't magically fix everything, but it was a start. It was a new foundation, one built on honesty, however painful. I realized my identity wasn't a choice between two families. It was a combination of both. The journey of self-discovery led me to a support group for adoptees. Hearing their stories, their own struggles with identity and belonging, made me feel less alone. I learned that my feelings were valid, that the anger and the grief were a normal part of the process. I also started talking to a therapist who helped me navigate the storm of emotions. It's okay to not be okay, and it's even more okay to ask for help. It's a sign of strength, not weakness. Slowly, I started to see my parents not as betrayers, but as flawed, loving people who made a difficult choice out of love. It was a complicated love, but it was real. My anger began to soften, replaced by a tentative understanding. Forgiveness isn't a switch you can flip. It's a process. It's choosing to see the love behind the mistake. With my parents' full support, I decided to write a letter. I wasn't sure if I would ever send it, or if my biological parents would ever see it, but I needed to write it for me. I poured everything onto the page of my confusion, my hurt, but also my gratitude for the life I was given. I told them I was okay. I told them I was loved. It was an act of letting go, of releasing the questions that had haunted me. The act of writing it was more important than the act of sending it. It helped me accept that my story had two beginnings, and that was okay. It didn't make my life any less whole. It just made it more complex, more uniquely mine. I was a mosaic, pieced together from different places, different loves, but beautiful and complete in my own way. The cracks were still there, but now they were filled with light, with understanding. Today, things are different. They're not perfect, but they're real. The shiny picture frame is gone, and what's left is something much better and authentic. Honest family. We talk more now about the hard stuff, the uncomfortable stuff. Leo still annoys me. My dad still tells bad jokes, and my mom still bakes the best cookies. But our love feels deeper, stronger, because it has been tested and it has survived. I've learned that families aren't defined by blood or by documents, but by choice, by commitment, and by the love that weathers the storm. I am Maya, and my story isn't about being temporary. It's about how love, in the end, can become the most permanent thing of all. I found my truth not by replacing one family with another, but by expanding my heart to hold the complexity of my whole story. And for that, I am incredibly grateful. Thank you for listening to my journey. Remember to be kind to yourselves and to each other. Follow 4 more stories about finding our way.